This week, we're going to talk about NFL football games and tips and tricks that I've learned after shooting 100 football games. I've had the opportunity to film about 100 NFL football games in my career, and it's probably one of the most exciting things I get to shoot. It's one of my favorite sports to photograph, but it's also one of the hardest. Assignments come from different, you know, stringer services or different wire services or different marketing contacts, and every shoot is different. Most people think it's just shooting a game, capturing touchdowns, celebrations. It's a lot more than that. There's a lot of marketing angles. There's a lot of products and product sponsors that you gotta film. There's individuals that you have to cover for particular instances or for card companies. So it's a lot more than just showing up and shooting a football game. And what I'm going to try to do today is just let you in on some of the tips and tricks that I've learned after covering so many football games in the NFL and in college. So photographing an NFL football game is, a lot of photographers' dreams. That's probably the pinnacle in sports here in the United States. I know across the pond it's soccer or, some other rugby, wherever it is that you may be coming from. But in the United States, I think one of the biggest sports and the most sports that everybody wants to film is an NFL football game. But with that comes, a lot of responsibility. You've got to realize that the NFL is very rule heavy, and they've got rules in place for a purpose. They've done this for years, 60 years or so. They know what they're doing, and they're pretty tight on their rules and regulations. And you've also got to realize that shooting an NFL game is a privilege. It's not a right. It's very hard. People work very, very hard to get to this level. And once you're here, doesn't mean that you're going to stay forever. There's always somebody coming up underneath you trying to get your job, or after COVID, the NFL, I would say they had about 100 photographers on the sideline. After COVID, oh man, it got knocked down to 20 people. And we had to shoot one year totally from the stands. We weren't even allowed on the field. So the NFL's gotten tighter with their rules, they've gotten tighter with their regulations, and they've gotten tighter with their access. So if you get to this level, feel very privileged. So I'm not going to tell you how to get a credential. I know that if you work for a wire service or you're on assignment for somebody, they're going to get the credential for you. You'll show up at parking, you'll get to game day, you'll go to the credential window, will call, you'll get your credential, you'll show them your ID, you'll walk in, and then there'll be another level of checking your bags, then there'll be another level of getting another armband or some sort of identifier to let you onto the field. And it's very, very tight. Everything's electronically controlled these days. It's not like the old days when you got a paper tag and it just hung around your neck. The NFL's gone very high tech. Now, with that in mind, once you get your credential, you have to wear it at all times. On the field, in the press box, in the elevator, going to the restroom, wherever you are, you need to have an identifier. Have that credential on you, at all times. You need to know where it allows you access to. The sidelines, the end zones, the bench areas, locker room. You're not going to get in the locker room for the most part. You're not going to get bench access. That's for the team photographers and TV only. And also keep in mind that if security or a league official questions you, you comply immediately. You don't argue, you don't talk back. You just say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Let me show you my credential. If I'm in the wrong area, I'll get out of here now. You do not want to get a credential pulled. It's not only bad for you as a look, but it's also bad for your assigner. Okay, so now you're on the field. You've got everything set up. You've got your camera set up. You're always carrying at least two bodies, sometimes three. I carry a 400 f2.8, and I also carry a 70 to 200 f2.8, and then I also have some wider lenses on me. No flash. You obviously don't shoot flash on an NFL football game, and that's what I carry. Remember that you're supposed to stay in your zone. You're not allowed to go outside of your zone. For the NFL, it's between the 20s and the end zone. So you're allowed to shoot in the areas from the 20-yard line to the 10 to the goal line, around the back, and back up to the next 20. You're not allowed to shoot behind the benches. You're not allowed to shoot any plays, coaches, things of that nature. Don't even bring your camera up if you're past the 25, all the way down the field to the next 25. Just walk, stay out of the way. Look out for the roving TV camera that's on a golf cart. They move this thing, and you have to stay out of the way because they do not see you. They will run you over. There's also hazards. There's cables on the ground. There's security personnel. There's cheerleaders. There's just a lot of things that can get you in trouble. So just, if there's an interception, you got to run behind the bench to get to the other end of the field. Get everything tight on your body, go, get there as quick as you can, and don't stop. Now, there's a border all the way around the field. It's a white border, and that's the officials area. That's where the officials are allowed to go. Just behind that will be a zone for TV cameras, ESPN, CBS, Fox, NBC, whoever it is. And those guys have runners. There's a cameraman, there's a runner that runs with him with the cables, and there's also another cable puller down the field. So you need to stay out of their way. And then behind that is the photographer's area, and that's where you're allowed to be. I know on college football games it gets really tight, really crunched. They let way too many people on the sidelines, and that's just another obstacle that you have to avoid. So, pay attention, but at the same time, you've also got to watch the play. So there's a lot going on. You've got to watch the play, you've got to watch the players, you've got to watch the officials, you've got to watch the TV guy and the football. One of the best times to get your, tight shots of individual players is during warm-ups. They come out there, they're loose, they're free, they're not really structured. And that's a great time to get headphone shots if you're shooting for a headphone company or any other kind of sponsor stuff, because they're pretty mellow. Also keep in mind that after they leave the field, you're still on there. You got to kind of get ready for the game to start. So you've got to figure out where the team's going to enter, where the entrances are, where the teams are going to run out, if there's smoke, if there's explosives, pyrotechnics, if the cheerleaders are going to be in your way, is a mascot or a flag going to come out? And after that, you've also got to keep in mind that there's going to be a flyover. There might be a flag, and you want to know which way that plane is going to come in or exit. So they're little things, but try to figure that out before the game. All right, so now the game's kicked off, and it's under action. The first quarter's underway. Like I said, depending on who your client is, depends on what you're going to be filming. Are you going to be filming individual players? Are you going to be filming, wide receivers or defensive celebrations, sacks, interceptions, goal line stands? Or is it just to shoot the coach? I mean, is he about to get fired and you need to get a shot of him? There's different things that you need to look out for, and different things that you need to talk to your client about exactly what they want to get. One thing that I say is don't shoot injuries. If there's a crowd of people around, somebody that's really injured bad, I think a crowd shot is acceptable, but you don't want to show the gruesomeness of their leg breaking or their hand breaking or their head twisted off or whatever it is. Be respectful, because you wouldn't want that to be shown if that was a family member of yours. Some of the things that editors really love are, emotional reactions on the bench after a big play or an interception or a sack or a fumble. You want, other players hyping each other up. They're always screaming on the sidelines or headbutting. That kind of stuff always sells pretty well. Get close-ups with helmets, gloves, the sweat, the breath in the cold weather, if there's, that smoke coming out of their mouth. And then fans reacting behind the players. There's always a lot of people, a lot of characters that dress up pretty well or scream, look pretty funny, but it's part of the game, and that's what makes the NFL what it is. Also be wary, not wary, but aware of the referees. There's a lot of referees out there, and they make mistakes too, but they also make good calls. And, penalties often are a big part of the game. So make sure that if there's, an incident where it's on a last second play, that you're not only shooting the players and the head coach screaming, but also get the reaction of the referees. They try their best, but sometimes they're the story. I had a client of mine, I won't give you the name, but I had to shoot behind the bench. I had to do my best to shoot behind the bench. And like I said, you're not supposed to do that. So the best thing you can do is get to the 20, stand on the sideline there. And instead of aiming towards the field, shoot down the line and try to, film as many of the players as you can down the bench. There was a tablet company, one of the sponsors of the NFL wanted shots of their, players working on the tablets. And that was very difficult to get. Another shot was the headphone company. The headphones, all the coaches on the field, the main coaches wear headphones, and they wanted that. There's a big player, if there's somebody breaks a milestone, they got the record for the team or the national record for the league for the most yards or the most catches. You want to be aware of that prior to going into the game, so that if they make that record-setting catch or touchdown, that you have the shot of that particular play. If there's a player that's returning from injury and this is their first game back, make sure that you highlight them. Try to get them before the game and during the game, and then if possible after the game if you're allowed on the field. There's also awareness tips. You always have to know where the ball is. You always have to know which way the play is going. Keep one eye on the play, even when you're shooting the bench, and be ready to drop to a knee or just get out of the way instantly during a live play. I've had players try to come crashing into me, and it's not worth it. It's not worth damaging myself or getting my gear damaged. It's just not worth the shot. There's other photographers there that are going to cover it, and like I said, it's not that big of a deal. Another thing to be aware of is in the end zone. If there's a play coming at you and it's pretty close, you need to be aware. You're not the only photographer there, and you don't jump in front of somebody else. If the play's coming, you lined it up, and all of a sudden it's to the far corner of the end zone, and you swing your big lens over. You might keep, there's going to be other photographers there that are doing the same thing. And if you even come out 5 inches, you've just messed up the shots for all the photographers behind you, and they're not going to be very kind to you after that. As I mentioned earlier, during COVID, when they limited the access to the photographers, we had to film from up in the stands. And that's not really my favorite, but to be honest with you, it made for some pretty good images on some of these games that I filmed. So, there's always a way to get, a different shot, and this was something that's a little bit different, but you're definitely going to need a longer lens. And if you want to shoot an overall view of the stadium, you're going to need a wide angle lens to show that off. So, sometimes you don't get a choice of where you get assigned. On Super Bowls, you may be upstairs, you may be in one corner, you may be on the 50-yard line, or you may be roaming, or you may not. For the most part, you're locked into one spot for the whole game. So do the best with what you can with what comes to you. Sometimes it's horrible because all the plays are going away from you. If that happens to be the case, then film the defensive players coming at you. Try to do what you can there. You can get shots of the coaches, you can get shots of the cheerleaders, you can get shots of the crowds, you can get shots of the referees. It doesn't seem like that's what you want to do, but sometimes that's just what you get, and you have to do the best with what you can. So I live in Florida. I shoot the Bucks, the Jags, the Dolphins, and we get rain. Definitely, the weather is a big factor here at some of our games. None of our stadiums are covered, so everything's outdoors. The elements get you. Make sure that you have the proper weather seals for your cameras. Make sure all your cameras are waterproof. Make sure that you yourself are covered up, raincoats, rain gear, whatever you need. Computers are a nightmare, and when you're transmitting live from the field during a storm, it's hell. I'll be honest with you, there's not really that much you can do. You might have to just tag images in your camera and then run back to the room and send what you can. But for the most part, just be prepared. I know in some of the northern states, they've got snow issues. I'm not real sure what else happens. I know that in Florida, if it's super hot outside and you go into the media room and the camera gets cold and then you come back out, the lens fogs up for a good 15 minutes, and that's just part of it. So you need to figure that out ahead of time to make sure that you can still do your job in the weather. So some of the last tips I can give shooting NFL is, just be courteous, be kind, know that you're there as just a photographer. And unfortunately, that's what it is. You're not TV, you're not broadcast, you're not part of the team, you're not a team photographer, you're just a photographer. And there's a couple other people there doing the exact same thing. Just be respectful, stay out of the way, know your positions, know your angles that you want to be at if the play is coming to you. Don't overshoot the cheerleaders, don't try to ask for autographs, none of that's cool. And you should know this. A lot of these tips that I've given you apply also to college football and to even high school football. So take what you can, and hopefully you'll do the best that you can. You do a great job, and eventually work your way up. All I can say is good luck, and I hope nothing but the best for you.